Hey guys, welcome back. Besiege early access coverage. This is episode 4. I'm Enigmius, and today we're doing something new and crazy. Messing around, not necessarily complicated machines, but I just came up with this idea in my head of something that I wanted to try. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be a twirling, swirling blade of death. Kind of like a kitchen stand mixer, only with a great big steel blade and used for chopping down little dancing ketchup packets instead of making cookies and bread. Now, it starts with a basic frame, and we're going to have to do a little bit tweaking as we go along. Similar to the last episode, I'm going to speed up the kind of repetitive parts of the build and then slow things down when we get into the mechanical details of things so that we can look at them in a little more detail without having them just kind of fly by. Now, the first thing that I want to do is create sort of like a boom, like an arm that extends out forward that this swirling blade mechanism is going to descend from. And the idea is that it will be low enough that it will actually be able to contact all of these soldiers that are surrounding our machine and do as much damage to them as it possibly can. I'm not necessarily interested in clearing this level. I just wanted an environment where, you know, I had lots of little dancing ketchup packages to test it on, and this particular map was probably the best one that I could come up with. There's a large group of archers in the back that I won't be able to reach because before long we're going to be removing the wheels from this thing, and we just have no way of getting to them. So we're not looking to clear the level. We're just looking to mess around with some of the components and see what we can do. Now, that wheel that I put there is one of the ones that was just recently released. It's a big, fat, heavy wheel, but that's really all it is. It's just a wheel. It's not a special mechanical construct or anything like that. And what we'll do, just like we did in the last episode with the contracting springs, is we'll change the keybind for that wheel so that it uses different keybinds than the other wheels, and we'll be able to operate the swinging arm independently of the wheels that are on the base of the machine. So here we put another wheel and a block, and then we'll put a blade on that block, and that will be the basis for really the whole kit and caboodle, so to speak. That's such an old expression. I haven't heard that one in ages and ages. And then we might as well, make it pretty. I was going to put more blades on it, but then I realized one of the things that we're going to have difficulty with that we can see now before we even, set it loose is that blade is eventually going to want to hit the post that's holding up the boom. But for the time being, I just want to kind of get it into place and see if the basics of the concept are actually going to work. Now, we definitely need to apply some braces, and you can see we've sped it up fairly dramatically just so that you don't need to see this in regular speed to understand what we're doing. We're just putting as many braces as we can think of adding to the frame so that it doesn't kind of tip over, and that's really all we can do. And then we're going to modify the key binding for the wheels, like I said, so that we could come up with something that's independent of the key bindings that's going to be working the wheels down on the ground. I don't even know why I put wheels on this to begin with. I had no intention of moving it. We just want to swing the arm around, and in this case I picked bad key bindings. I picked ones that match the zooming in and out of the camera, so not necessarily the best choice. And you can see actually the camera changing location as I was setting the key bindings because I was pressing those keys. Not that big of a deal, but when we press play, you can see it kind of wants to tilt forward, and then when we hold down the button to make it swing, it zooms in so much that we can't see what's going on. But we can see that the little dancing ketchup packets are beating the hell out of our machine, which is not necessarily surprising, but it was not exactly the view that we wanted to offer. So we're going to change the key binding to something that's not also bound to it, so that all it does is make the wheels turn, and then we'll be happy. We don't even need the second key binding, but just for the sake of keeping everything simple, it's nice to bind it to something else so that we're not accidentally triggering it in some other way. So here we go. Yeah. It broke off. I don't know if it broke off because of the spinning force or because of the archers shooting it, but it kind of flew off and killed a bunch of the guys down off to the left-hand corner there, the bottom left-hand corner. And here you'd see it hits the post. But I decided to just let it keep going and kind of spin around and see how many guys we can take out just with this. The dancing ketchup packets are having kind of a rough go of things. This is what I'm really enjoying about this game at this point, because I haven't got far enough with the components to start dreaming up really complicated things. But just doing little simple things and messing around with them for a little while is, to me, it's a very relaxing thing to do. The game has a very relaxing ambient music kind of background track, and it makes it it's a very relaxing kind of thing to do, even though technically you're slaughtering these guys over and over and over again in violent and glorious fashion with the way they splatter. So in this case here, I just wanted to wait till they got a little bit closer to start swinging the blade, and you can see the whole machine is like shaking violently. It's like there's so much momentum, there's so much weight on that front end spinning around, that if we hadn't put the braces where we did, I'm sure this thing would just, the post holding the boom, holding the arm mechanism would just collapse. And that would be the end. One of the things also I noticed is that when it tips forwards, the way that it does, it actually lowers to the point where the blade is clipping the front wheels. And that was part of the problem. But then you can see when we take those two arms away, it's too front heavy and it tips too far forward. If we were to continue trying to swing the blade, it would just bounce off the ground. So that's not necessarily ideal. So we're going to get rid of all the wheels, and we're going to replace them with posts for the time being, so that it doesn't have the wheels that it can move around on. And then that was sped up a little bit too much, but you saw we made a lot of blood. And there were a lot of guys that died, but still kind of shaking itself to pieces and still hitting that post and losing the blade, which is kind of disappointing, because without the blade, it's not a swinging blade thing. It's just a great big club, a great big wooden club. Not that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but the goal was to have a spinning blade. So we're going to run some more braces. We get rid of the central post. So we've still got the boom. And the boom is supported by the braces, basically. And then because we've removed this central post, we want to make sure that we're bracing it in other ways so that it kind of stays upright and doesn't collapse on itself. That's a huge part of any machine that you make in this game, is making it not only so that it has the mechanisms on it that are doing what you want, but also so that it's braced so that it doesn't collapse on itself. And you can see it still moves. It still kind of pushes itself along with the momentum from the swinging arm. But we actually managed to go a little bit longer that time and managed to squish more ketchup packets. Now this was kind of a weird thing that we did. This is basically like a counterweight that I wanted to add to it. And when we pressed play to have it go, the frame rate just went to crap pretty much immediately. So I got rid of the counterweight and instead replaced it with, from the flight category, these ballast orbs, so that you can change the weight, and it's hopefully a little bit less, processor intensive to figure out exactly what's going on and whether or not this thing is going to work. So we're bringing in all kinds of crazy components and still trying to keep it simple. You can see we're setting the maximum weight. We're allowed to adjust the weight each one of these has. And we go through and set them all to the maximum, because we just want as much weight on the back end as possible to keep it from tipping down on the front. And then once that's done, then we can try again. Now there's no posts in the way, there's no wheels in the way. We can just swing it around and see. And really the only thing that we have left that we can do, because it's kind of walking because of the momentum of this arm swing around, it's doing a lot of damage to the soldiers, but it's a little bit too high. So what we can do is we can go around and we can remove these posts underneath and then try again once we've lowered it to the ground, and it should be about the right height to smash the crap out of these guys, if we're gonna have any luck at all. Again, this is sometimes when it's time to learn things, we don't have to attach all kinds of objectives that we have to meet in order to be happy. We can just mess around for a little while and learn a few things about how the game works. In this case, we learned about the ballast orbs, and the little soldiers are prancing around. And that was great. And you can see, I don't know why it's still moving, but it is, and it's just splattering guys all over the place. So we had fun with this. The next episode we'll be building something new. So if you want to be notified when I add that episode, you can subscribe to my channel and you can follow me on social media. Links for that always in the information section below the video. Please leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.